So thank you for joining us. And what I want to go over are some of the basics that a lot of people struggle with. Okay. If you need to move your little Zoom window like I do right now, you can slide that down to the bottom so it's not in our way. Okay. So one of the first things that I want to tell you is the Cricut will only cut what you can see in the design space screen. So right now, as I have this set up, it would cut the words "Teach Me Cricut Design Space" with Sean Mosh. Now, if I don't want it to cut this, but I want to save this because I like how it's designed, I just don't need to cut it right now, I can go over here to my layers panel and I can click this little eyeball and that turns everything off. So like I said before, the Cricut's only going to cut what it can see. So I turned off the eyeball so it wouldn't see it. Okay, so the first item I want to go over is slice. A lot of people struggle with how to use slice correctly. The biggest thing to remember with slice is you can only select 2 items at one time. And let me show you an example of that just using some basic shapes. I'm going to insert a circle. I love doing things with basic shapes because the shapes are free. So if I can make my design with shapes, I know I can do it for free. So just for a better visual, I'm going to change the colors of these circles. So this one's going to be red. And now I'm going to right click on that and go duplicate. Duplicate is like doing copy paste all in one move. So now I made that circle and made it smaller. So now I'm going to make that one orange. Okay. Actually, so another way to duplicate is when you click on that orange one, I can go over here to my upper right hand corner and click duplicate. And now I'm going to make that one even smaller. And I'm going to make that one yellow. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I want us to visually be able to, help you see the different colored layers. So here's a little trick. If I wanted to center all of these, I could select the whole thing and go align center. And now it is going to stack them perfectly centered on top of each other. So let's say I wanted to cut the orange circle out of the red circle so that I basically have kind of a ring cut out of the red circle. A lot of people will just select everything right here and then try to hit the slice button, but you can see in the lower right corner that slice is turned off. That's because right now I have 3 things selected. 1, 2, 3 circles. I can also look at my layers panel and see that I have 3 things selected because see how these items have a darker background to them? So now if I click here on my grid, so I've unselected everything, click here on your layers panel to select the red circle, and now hold down your shift key on your keyboard. I know you can't see me holding my shift key on my keyboard, but trust me. And now click on the orange circle here. Now slice turns on because I only have 2 things selected. Do you see how this is not selected because it's a lighter gray and these 2 are selected? So now I can hit slice and it's going to do its thing. And design space is being a little slow. Okay, so here's the slice result. And here's the slice result. So if I turn that off and turn that off, oops, let's turn that back on, sorry. You can now see I sliced the orange right out of that red circle and made kind of an open ring. If you guys know the Target logo, I'm kind of making the Target logo here. So just give me a shout out in the chat. Does that help you understand better how to use slice? And that you get, yes.
Hi, we're unable to join other people. It says only the directions for Zoom say only the host can join the other people. So can you check and see if there's other people waiting to join?
Oh, yep, I just hit the join.
Okay, thank you.
Kimberly, if you can keep an eye on the participants and
okay, will do.
Yep. So does anybody have any questions about using slice from that demo? You can either put in the chat or turn yourself on for the question. The other thing I see people doing a lot is they'll try to slice something. Let's do this. If I type up the word love, and they want to slice that out of here. So let's make love a different color so we can see it. There we go. They'll do this and select everything. And sometimes slice will not turn on. Right now it is turning on.
Sean, can you hold that example? Because I do have a question in reference to that example you have on the screen. So if I were doing this in a project and that heart was, let's just say, my baseball cap, and I wanted to add the word love to the baseball cap, would I have to layer that on top, or could I actually have that cut out when I do the when I cut the vinyl so that I could then place the love inside of it, or do I have to layer it?
Okay, so if you're doing iron-on, you can layer. Like for me, instead of cutting the word love out and kind of puzzle piece it in here,
yes,
I would have just done a solid heart and put love over it. Here is why. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so if I wanted these two different shades of pink, now I'm getting fancy. Oops, I had them both selected at the same time. Okay, so if I press this in vinyl onto anything, sometimes that first layer of vinyl will shrink slightly. So that means that your pieces aren't going to line up perfectly if there's slight shrinkage. So let's do this, for example. Let's say I press this on here and it shrinks slightly. So I just changed the size to represent shrinkage. So now if I go and put love over the top, see how no matter how I place it, I get a little bit of white somewhere? Yeah. That's why for me, I just use, well, I love Caesar vinyl, and it layers beautifully. And so then I would just do a solid heart and layer over the top. And then let's say you wanted the word to be in glitter, then that's where you would make your top layer of glittery vinyl. Or you can use the Caesar Sparkle, which allows you to layer. I have information about that on my site.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So that's everything I have on Slice. The copy of this recording is going to be on my Facebook page. Now I have to find my Zoom. Oh, here we go. I'm going to switch back to the conference information. And Kimberly, if you want to go over the conference information again for those who joined us late.
Okay, the conference information is before you. More importantly, I don't want to take up the training time. If you join our Facebook page, I'm going to type it in the chat. If you join our Facebook page, you will definitely be able to get more information about the conference, October 8th, 9th, and 10th in Orlando, Florida. That's all I'm going to say, Sean. I'll put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Kimberly for basically suggesting I do this and kind of promoting it to so many people. If you want to join my group is called Teach Me Cricut Design Space. Ooh, just like my title on this. If you go to Facebook and type in Teach Me Cricut Design Space with Sean Mosh, you'll find me. And you can also go to my website, seanmosh.com. I have all my social media links at the top of that screen, and you can then follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and everything and get all my tips and tricks. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was Weld. Let's turn that back on. So Weld is awesome for joining things together that are overlapping. I love to use Weld for text. Okay, so for example, there's nothing touching or overlapping here, so there's absolutely no reason to use Weld. But let me find a font. Okay, this is my hardest part, is picking a font. Because like, you look at me, you're like, oh, they're so pretty. Oh, that is pretty. Okay, so right here, I'm going to change this to a different color so we can really see it. And now I'm going to make this bigger. Do you see right here where the L and the O touch each other? So that's where these two letters are touching or overlapping. So if I weld this, this will cut out as one connected piece. So I'm going to click the weld button down here, and you will actually see that little overlapping line disappear. Because that little tiny black outline you see is where the Cricut's going to cut. So you can see we got rid of that cut line. Another place I like to use this, let's go back to my heart. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I like to make them homemade cards. And they like it when I do different shaped cards. So if I do this, and I take both of those hearts, and I'm going to align them so the tops are lined up, which it didn't move, which means I was pretty good at eyeballing it. Okay, so right now, if I were to cut these, I don't want those overlapping and to cut into each other. What I want them is to cut as one full shape. So now when I go weld, come on, Cricut, keep up with me. See how it removed that? So now I could cut this out and fold it right here, and now it's a heart-shaped card. Does weld make sense to people?
Sean, I'm missing something.
Yeah.
This is Kim. Because before I thought that, like when you showed love, I thought weld brought the letters close together so that they were touching.
No, that's a common misconception.
Okay.
Let me find a font.
So the part that I don't know if anybody else is, but the part that you're demonstrating where you said this is where the Cricut cut line would be.
Yep.
And then when you weld it, it took away the Cricut cut line. I'm not sure. I missed something.
That's exactly what weld is for. It takes away.
I see Angelique shaking her head. Yes. Angelique, what am I saying or doing wrong, or are you confused too? Can somebody help me out? Angelique.
I was just going to show line spacing who Michelle put in there. I was trying to find one. So like this font is kind of a distressed font. And you can see when I type up the words, they're already connecting pretty much, except for this O. The O isn't all the way into the D. Okay. So for that, what I would do is use my letter spacing, like Michelle suggested. If I reduce my letter spacing, see how it's moving the O closer to the V? The other way you can do this is ungroup and manually move the letters. So now that you can visually see, yep, that's touching there, that's touching there, and that's touching there, you can weld. So weld doesn't move the letters. It just gets rid of that cutting line. See, now those cut lines in between it are gone. If you want to actually move the letters, you have to use your letter spacing.
So Sean, are you saying, like in this example where you showed love, are you talking about those little teeny lines?
Those little teeny, here, let me.
Can you point to it with the cursor, please?
Yep, okay, better yet, I undid them. And I am going to.
Sean?
Yes.
Hey, it's Angelique. How are you, sweetheart?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. I think basically the terminology people are looking for is just to know that weld is going to allow you to cut it as one piece versus, as you were stating, when the lines are touching, if it sees the line there, then it's going to cut it separately. But by welding, it makes it one cohesive piece.
Exactly. So let me show you for example.
So if Angelique, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Angelique, when you say it makes it one cohesive piece, is that like saying it adds pieces to it so that it stretches to the next letter?
Yeah.
It doesn't really stretch it. It literally removes this cut. So like if I hit make it, let's see if it's going to show me.
If the machine sees a line there, it's going to think that it needs to cut it because the machine is only going to do what you're trying to ask it to do. Okay. So what Sean is saying there is when you see a line like the L and the O that were touching in her demonstration, if you weld it, that line where the L and the O are touching is going to be removed. So then the machine knows that's not to be cut. It's going to make it one piece so that it cuts as one piece versus a separate, because the line is basically saying, I'm a barrier. You're supposed to cut me from this to this. And you don't want that if you want it one word, as Sean demonstrated there.
Okay,
I hope that helps.
Here's another example. Right now, the Cricut's going to cut each one of these pieces separately, right? Because when I click make it, I like to show it with the script font because that's what people usually use it with. Okay, I made it really big. So see, it's cutting all of those separately. But if I were to take this and reduce my letters, or I'm sorry, not my line spacing, my letter spacing.
Move it together.
And I click all those down. See, even though this isn't script, see how those pieces are starting to now overlap? Like where this overlaps this, it's going to look weird because it's of the font I'm using. So now when I weld it, it got rid of all those overlaps. So now when I click make it, instead of cutting the L for love and then a separate swoop for underneath the O, that L and that swoop are all one because I welded them together. Think back to the movie Flashback. God, I'm dating myself. She was a welder. When she wanted to join two pieces of metal, she welded them. So now there's no space or separation between them. Okay, so Weld will not move your letters. You have to move your letters where you want them, either using letter spacing or by ungrouping them and manually moving it. What Weld is going to do is remove those cut lines so that it cuts as one big piece. Right, does that help? Okay. What was the other one I was going to do? Contour. Okay, contour. People have a love-hate relationship with contour. I love it. There are other people that are like, I don't get it. So let's try to help you understand it. I'm going to find a really good image to contour. I think for learning how to contour, to start with a coloring book style image works the best. And what I mean by a coloring book style image is one that just has like this, a black and white outline. It looks like a picture you would see in a coloring book to color in. So I'm going to insert that image. Okay. So contour will allow me to turn on and off different sections of this cut. How I like to use it is for creating layers. So if I duplicate this one, I now have two separate flowers. I'm going to change the color of this one to yellow. Now the Cricut's going to cut exactly what it sees. So for this one, it's going to cut each one of these black lines, and our petals are going to be kind of open. But what if I wanted them filled in? That's where I'd use contour. So I'm going to click on contour, which is in the lower right corner of our screen. And it opens up a new window. This is showing me all the different cuts. So, okay, it says I'm running out of time. I only have 10 minutes left. So if we run out of time, we could join back into this meeting, or we will, oops, resume share. Did I stop sharing? Sorry. We can do this in another session, but if I click this very first one, it turns off that outline. Do you see how that outline just went lighter? Let me do it again. Watch the outline over here. If I click it, see how it goes lighter? So now when I close out of this, it turned off the outline and turned on the petals. So now I can place those inside there to make a yellow layer. Can you move or resize the contour window? You know what? I haven't found a way to do that, unfortunately. That's a Cricut thing. So here's another thing you can do. Now, if I duplicate this, I could make petals that are different colors. So I could take that one and go contour and wait for this screen. And let's say I turn off all of these petals.
Can you show that again, please?
Yep. It's all about which one of these pieces you turn on and off. And honestly, sometimes you have to go through it and kind of double check them. But now I made all these orange, so I could layer that right on top. Personally, for me, what I would do for this is, remember how I said, do your background layer. See, I was cutting this out of vinyl to put on a shirt or a bag. I would take this black layer, let's make it brown first off. And then I'd use contour. And I would wait for this to catch up to me and do hide all contours. This is going to make that whole shape a solid piece so that my layers go perfectly over the top. See, Now it's solid, so you don't see any of those little gaps. So if you don't line this up perfectly, it's not really going to matter because you don't see any of the little gaps. So contour is going to allow you to turn on and off sections of your image. I'm going to try this again.
Sean, can I add one thing?
Yeah.
I love contour, so I use it a lot. And one of the things that I noticed about it is you have to be careful with adjusting, like when you are adjusting different parts that you're contouring in and out, because I've made the mistake of changing the size and then I print it in that vinyl. And when I come back to try to add it or layer it, I change the size inadvertently at times.
Yep,
And it
you
doesn't
do
fit.
have to be careful about that. Here's another example of times you can use contour. So let's say you wanted to cut this llama, but you don't want to cut the words. Some people would say, well, just cut it and don't use the words. And other people would say, well, just slice this off. You know, like how we use slice, you could insert a shape, cover this with a big square and slice it out. Okay, sure. But let's say for just one project, you don't want the no drama llama, but you know, 2 projects later, you're like, I'm going to need that. I just want to turn it off and hide it so it's still there. I can move this stuff. So if I click on the no drama llama and I go to the contour button in the lower right corner, what I can do is find the right pieces. So I'm going to click on the N and the O. And actually over here, I could scroll through this window and find all the letters and see how it's turning them off. You can see what's on and what's off by the shade of gray it is. That's for many shades of gray. It used to actually turn them off in real time as you were watching so you could see it happen, but not anymore. Design Space took that option away from us. Okay, so now if I turn this off, it's just the llama. Yay! So now those words are still there. All I would have to do is go into contour and turn them back on if I need them. So I love using contour to edit an image because I've done projects where I take the words from one image set and the pictures from a different image set and kind of join them all together into my own design. So that's the way you can kind of make your own things and make your own designs. Any questions on contour? We're running out of time, so because I'm using the free Zoom session, it only allows me 40 minutes with this large of a group. So this video will be on my YouTube channel. You can
there's a question in the chat that says, can you center this as well?
Oh, I'm guessing we're talking about the flower design. Yeah, if I took, because there's nothing to center on the llama. So if I take all of this and do this and go align to center. It's pretty close. The only reason it's off is because with the center ring turned off, the orange has this different center. But I bet if I did this and contoured out those little petals, it would look better. So this is another reason why I like to make my base layer when I'm pressing stuff a solid piece, because now see how even if things aren't perfectly centered, it still looks pretty. Like, but if you would have cut it with those puzzle piecing kind of sections cut out, it would have been a lot more obvious if you didn't line things up perfectly. Does that make sense? So I will put this recording on my YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Join my group if you're on Facebook. If not, go to my website, seanmosh.com. Under classes, I have free handbooks you can download. There's one for Design Space on the computer, and it's filled with all kinds of little step-by-steps like this, where I show you, okay, slice, here you go. And then I link you to a video. So make sure you save the PDF so you can click on the links. And then I'll show you all the different buttons. And if you're in my group, I can even go, yeah, here's a project or a video where I use slice in action so you can see it happening. Really, that's everything I have for today because I just wanted to go over a few things.
This is Kimberly. I wanted to thank Sean. I met Sean like so many of us through Facebook and YouTube.
I can't see it, Mom.
And she's been very, very helpful whenever I need something. I just
Oh, no.
go on Messenger and ask her
It's just
questions.
got something splattered on it. So.
Somebody's, can you mute?
Yeah, I
She's
just moved him.
I'm sorry. Sean has also been really good on our Facebook page of posting tips. It makes it a little bit more simpler for you. I see some of you have joined, but we had way more participants. For the next free Zoom, I won't be able to reach out to all those different pages. So I'm going to ask you again to keep my work. So I have to do less work. Please join us as well at Cricut and Sublimation Hands On. That's Cricut ampersand and Sublimation Hands On. I would really appreciate that. And then I can continue to reach out to you all as a group. Thank you so much.
And always, if you want more information from me or about me, go to seanmosh.com. And I'm just going to delete some stuff. And my Facebook group is called Teach Me Cricut Design Space. If you're not a Facebook